38 Light 20th Fleet aircraft indeed. The P-40 Warhawk, one of the most recognizable aircraft from World War II, with that sharp mouth painted on the front of the aircraft. P-40, of course, flown by the legendary American Volunteer Group, better known as the Flying Tigers. The P-51D Mustang, considered by many to be the best overall fighter of World War II. A number of great examples of these historic World War II aircraft, ladies and gentlemen, as we take you now back from 2025. We're going to take you back to the 1940s. Billy Mitchell taking off. A little interesting note about the B-25 Mitchell. It's the only military aircraft that is ever named after the original, General Billy Mitchell. This aircraft, believe it or not, it's a land-based medium bomber, but in April of 1942, 16 of those aircraft were loaded on board an aircraft carrier. Now this is a land-based bomber, not a Navy aircraft. But 16 of these aircraft were loaded on the USS Hornet, and they steamed for Japan. And in just a few moments, we're going to relive a little bit of that history. Pacific on a tour. We had intercepted Japanese transmissions, and we had a pretty good idea of where the aircraft would be, and the P-38s took to the sky and intercepted those bombers and shot down Yamamoto over the South Pacific, taking out one of the leading commanders. The one that conducted the attack on Pearl Harbor was now out of the picture. Watch now, ladies and gentlemen, as we recreate the bombing raid on Japan in April of 1942. 16 B-25s taking off a USS Hornet flew over Japanese territory for the first time less than 4 months after Pearl Harbor, and for the first time the Japanese will feel our thunder. 16 B-25s delivering payload across the island of Japan. It was so shocking and revealing. For the first time in their history, they had been attacked on their homeland. As a matter of fact, the attack itself actually didn't do a lot of damage as far as destroying industry or anything like that. But what it did was boost morale, because in the early stages of World War II, after Pearl Harbor, the Japanese were literally unstoppable as they marched across the South Pacific. And so we needed something that would get our morale back up, get us back into fight. And at that time, Colonel Doolittle came up with the idea for the Doolittle Raid, in which he trained 16 crews to take off an aircraft carrier and attack the Japanese mainland, again, 4 months after Pearl Harbor. Now again, it didn't do a lot of damage to the Japanese, but what it did do is make them pull back a number of fighter squadrons that would have been dispatched in the South Pacific. They were pulled back to the Japanese homeland. So in many ways, a lot of our guys were protected because these fighter squadrons were not allowed to go off base into the South Pacific. They had to stay home because they got attacked by the Doolittle Raiders. Let's watch again, ladies and gentlemen, and we simulate another attack run by the B-25. One version of this aircraft, ladies and gentlemen, could have up to 14 50 caliber machine guns pointed in one direction. Listen to the sounds of the B-25. Cannon in the nose of an aircraft. It had to be loaded by hand, fire one shot at a time. And the crew said when that gun went off, it felt like the aircraft just stopped in the sky for a second. And a 75 millimeter, it was the heaviest gun ever carried by an aircraft during World War II. Once again, on the attack run, the B-25. Now again, designed as a medium altitude bomber, but again, pressing the surface as a ground attack aircraft. So again, those 50 caliber machine guns loaded up. The aircraft comes down over its target. One of the really unique bombing missions of World War II, it was called skip bombing. Now again, you don't hear a lot about this, but aircraft like the B-25 would perform what's called a skip bomb attack. They would actually line up, they would have a conventional bomb in the bomb bay. It wasn't a torpedo, it was a conventional bomb. They would actually come towards the Japanese aircraft. Some of the amazing fighters of World War II will enter the airspace here at the 2025 Southern California Air Show. Get your cameras ready as history gets ready to fill the skies. Leading the way, the P-38 Lightning. P-38, an incredible fighter aircraft. The Germans called it the fork-tailed devil. That was their name for the P-38. The P-40 Warhawk. Even though this aircraft was technically obsolete at the beginning of World War II, this aircraft would go on to serve throughout the entire war even until 1945. P-40s were in service. Again, made famous by the American Volunteer Group, or the better name that most people recognize, the Flying Tigers. Imagine what it was like again in Europe, 1945. P-51 aircraft strafing enemy ground forces, taking out enemy aircraft before they had a chance to get into the air. The P-51 originally was developed with an Allison engine, like you see right here. Another strike on target. This is the A model of the P-51. It's the very first version of the aircraft. Very rare indeed to see an A model still flying today. It has the Allison engine that was originally designed for the P-51. It wasn't until about 1942-43 that the Merlin engine was fitted on the P-51 Mustang, and she became a legendary fighter that we have here today. Once again, from your left, one of the most unique designs of any fighter aircraft, the P-38 Lightning. Another cool feature about the P-38 is that all of its weapons, its machine guns, millimeter cannons, are all mounted in the nose of the aircraft. So it was really a lot easier to shoot down an enemy aircraft because you just pointed your nose at it. Unlike with the like the P-51 you see, or the P-40, their weapons have to be angled at a certain angle, so you had to be so many yards away from an enemy so your bullets would cross right into the enemy aircraft. The P-40s, of course, carried the brunt of World War II as they were one of our frontline fighters positioned all across the South Pacific and into Europe. And then, aircraft like this one, the P-51 Mustang, began to show up in 1942. The P-51 Mustang, using drop tanks, is the first American fighter capable of going all the way to Berlin and back during World War II for making. Listen to this. Now, if you want to know about the markings on this aircraft, that was the first Aero Commando group in the China-Burma. Again, the P-38. Unique twin boom design. One of the few tricycle landing gear aircraft in World War II. Coming in next, again, the legendary P-40 Warhawk. Probably one of the most recognizable planes. That sharp bow design that the Flying Tiger used, of course, has become a fashion accessory. I see a lot of backpacks with that sharker mouth on it. Tiger shark mouth. There she is, the P-40 Warhawk. Was truly a conflict. When the saying goes in Top Gun, it's not the plane, it's the pilot. Believe me, the pilots of World War II were amazing. And what they were able to accomplish in just a few short years. P-51 Mustang. The P-51 Mustang would go on to serve not only in World War II, but also in the Korean War. Over 25 nations. used P-51s to be a part of their Air Force. It was such a versatile aircraft. Not only was it an incredible fighter, but again, a ground attack aircraft. There were even some aircraft that were fitted with cameras, photo recon mission. Get your cameras ready. A beautiful photo pass from your left. The Allison powered P-51A. Again, ladies and gentlemen, that is a very rare aircraft to see. There's a number of P-51Ds, but not A's. These are the planes, ladies and gentlemen, that our grandparents, great-grandparents flew in combat during World War II. And again, these planes are flown not to glorify war in any shape or form. These planes are flown to honor the memory of the greatest generation. People from all walks of life who came together in a moment of crisis. When the world and freedom were on the brink of collapse. Men and women answered the call from every